out of Denmark now and will rejoin the official Bibbulmun track soon. Well, this first Bibbulmun track marker in 2 days. I say being back on proper trails, even though it's more difficult and it's undulating here, instantly lifts my mood after so much road walking. Just past an older couple heading the other direction who started out from Perth, and they told me that the Parry Inlet is completely fine to pass and the beach walking is quite good with very hard compact sand, so that's excellent news. Definitely some more technical traversing through the section, so I can understand why people say this is one of the harder days. Towards an inlet over there in the peninsula I would have walked along if I didn't have to divert around it. So that's where I'll be walking, I suppose. It's slow going because it's not fast. I can't really appreciate the views because many people looking at my feet because I'm all worried about it. Snakes. Uh-oh. There's the shelter down there. Despite being the shortest day so far, it was actually pretty hard. It's pretty hilly. So it took 6.5 hours to cover the 21 kilometres. Setting off now from William Bay campsite. Got some blisters forming on the heels, sort of where the inner sole meets, sort of like the lip of the insole. But I've been tending to them each night and keep on top of them. They're not too painful, and I think eating food, getting enough calories down I'm finding that to be the most difficult thing. The walking is not too bad. Well, it's only a few hours after high tide and there's not a lot of room. The sand is surprisingly compact and easy to walk on, so that is a relief, because walking on loose sand for 10 kilometres probably feel like walking on dirt for 20. Comforting to know that the tide is going to continue to go down from here. There's the inlet. I think I just cross over a bit there, get to the sandbar and we're good. Well, I had no issues whatsoever with Parry Inlet. It was only ankle deep, and just coming up off the beach, there's a little hut there with some volunteers that run the caravan park, and they nicely gave me a cup of tea, well, a cup of coffee and Tim Tams. So it's always really nice to have those little things when you're spending a lot of time on trail by yourself. Well, that's where we just walked along. It's Parry Inlet there. What are they asking of me here? They want me to swim. Passed a man named Michael earlier. I've been following his footsteps for the last few hours. My problem with beach walking isn't what most people would think. My problem is that there's only one way to go after walking on the beach, and that's up. Well, I'm about to make it into Boat Harbour Bay. It's a bit past 1:30, I think. Boat Harbour Bay. Nice little decorations. Something like dinner at 2:30. Thought since I got here early, there's no one else here, I'd give a quick breakdown of some of the gear that I brought. So I've got my Mont Moon Dance one-person tent, which I think is quite cozy. Since I've set it up in the shelter, I haven't expanded it out the full way. You can sort of give it a little bit of extra room here, pushing that bit out. My Thermarest sleeping pad, which is extremely comfortable. Unfortunately, it has been deflating, but hoping that's just because I didn't seal the valve properly, close it properly. Got my Mont Helium Boxfoot 680 sleeping bag, minus 12 degrees there on the limit is pretty good. Nemo Philo pillow isn't bad. Thermarest liner, not Thermarest, Cedar Summit liner, which I mostly just have to keep the sleeping bag a bit cleaner. Normally the tent would have the rain fly, of course, but I don't bother putting that on when I'm in the shelter. Got my Osprey 70-litre Pro backpack, which has way too many compartments and zips and buckles and all sorts of things, but it is quite handy even if it is a bit heavy at 2.5 kilograms empty. Got my Pickle Bee there. Got my trusty Camelback water bladder, 3 litres. Got my food bags. The top of the backpack actually detaches, and you can actually turn that into its own little backpack if you like, which is handy. Got my gaiters, little gaiter things. This pot that I borrowed from Joel, which is excellent, much better than the crappy one I had. Little burner there that you attach to the butane tank, and that works quite nicely. Lots of extra little things. I've got a sort of bag of miscellaneous things in here, toiletries, earplugs, charger, mat, compass. This little thing here I borrowed from Ryan at work is the pump that fills up the Thermarest sleeping pad, which is excellent. Some earbuds. I get bored, haven't had to use them yet, other than when I'm in track towns. A few other little things, but that's most of it. Other than clothes, got a puffer jacket here I'm just airing out, and rain pants and rain jacket. Yeah, somehow it all manages to add up to being 12 kilograms base weight without the food and water. Heading out now, 6 o'clock in the morning, heading to first Peaceful Bay. Got a canoe crossing to do. I think it's about 22 k's to Peaceful Bay. Had a bit of a rough sleep last night because well, there was a kangaroo that came into close to the shelter, making an awful grunting noise and hopping along the path. And I tell you, when it's dark and you're there by yourself in a shelter in the middle of nowhere, it doesn't sound like a kangaroo. It sounds like a crazy person grunting and lumbering along on the path. So that was a bit of a shot of adrenaline. It took a little while to calm down. Please, sir, will you let me pass? Please, sir. Thank you, sir. It's probably the most overgrown path's been. I'm glad I got my maps, because if I didn't have them to double check, then I would be starting to lose faith that this is the actual path. Just had to get around some sketchy rocks near the ocean. Unfortunately, I arrived, it's bang on high tides. That's what I get for leaving early. There are the rocks down there. I just had to scamper over. Might not look too bad, but when you got a 20 kilo pack, it's a bit more sketchy. Much easier to lose your balance. So today's the 8th day on trail. If I get my act together and move quickly and get to Perth by the end of the day, then I will break the record for the fastest time in completing the track, which is currently, I think, 8 days and 11 hours. There's a guy at the end of the month, I believe, wants to break his own record and get it down to 8 days and 9 hours. Obviously, he's running it with a crew. That's not the labelling I was expecting to see on a bottle. Once again, the worst part about beach walking is having to go uphill. So I'll teach you a little bit of hiker slang. What you're looking at here are called PUDs, or pointless ups and downs, because you go up and you go down, and you go up and then you go down. You over there making noises. Where are you going, buddy? I'm going to head that way. Where are you going? Man, I wish I had legs like that emu. He made short work of that. He did in about 10 seconds. It's going to take me 5 minutes, I reckon. Well, that's why I got a canoe across. It's the target over there. I might get some tea first. That was very difficult because it was upstream and I had to paddle on the opposite side to my good arm. So I was getting pretty knackered there trying to paddle on the left side with my right arm. But I did manage to get there in the end. If that river was flowing twice as fast or was twice as wide, then I'm not sure how I would have gone, because my right arm is feeling pretty cooked right now. There's a policy with the canoe crossings that you need to make sure that there's always one on each side, which means if you turn up and there's only one left on your side, you need to go to the other side, grab a canoe, or a few canoes times yours, and then paddle them all back across, and then do a third trip over again. I can tell you, I would not have been capable of doing that, so I'm very thankful that I'm going in the unpopular direction, and there was 5 canoes on my side, so no issues. Less than 2 k's from Peaceful Bay, and I have to walk through that sort of boggy water there for 10 meters or so. Get my shoes wet, that's all it takes. That's alright. Sometimes it feels like they just make the pathway go up the biggest hill in the area, then they find the next closest big hill and they make it go up that one. I then made it into Peaceful Bay and enjoyed a nice lunch at the cafe before chilling out next to the beach for the rest of the afternoon. Another early morning kickoff, 6:30 a.m. Have about 28 kilometers to cover today. So I have some good news and I have some bad news. The good news is I found my avocado that I've been missing for the last 2 days. The bad news is that I found it at the bottom of my bag. But no, it's actually alright. It's in a Ziploc bag, so I think it's still edible. We're going to give it a go today. You know, I'm not normally a beach person, but I will say that Peaceful Bay is actually quite nice, especially in the early morning like this. So if you're ever in the region, I highly recommend giving it a sus. At a certain point, you just gotta accept that you're gonna get your feet wet. Oh, look at this! I could have just driven here. If I knew that, I wouldn't have walked all this way. So I believe across the bay there is where I'm going. That's just this morning. Further to go after that. But it is pretty. This is probably my favourite kind of terrain to traverse, when it's just like rocky slate. And you can see the markers and you just look up and spot them and then you keep going. I don't think there's going to be very much of this on the Bibbulmun track. There's been pretty much none so far, and that's alright. I didn't expect there would be any at all, to be honest. And that's a pretty sizable snake. Must have made this path. Don't really want to follow this. Could be behind me, could be in front of me. Please move. Yes. Come on. Let's go, let's go. There we go. Good boy. Keep moving. Need you to move, please. Come on, let's go. Go! Come on. I'm going to keep walking this way, mate. Come on. Yes, thank you, thank you. Keep moving on. Jump off into the bushes now. You don't have to stay on the path. You can jump off into the bushes. Come on. Right, come on. This is getting silly now. You don't have to be on the path. There are other places you can be, mate. So many other places. Oh, there he goes. Alright, there he goes. There he goes. Alright, good boy. amusing how the things that you think are going to be problems on the trip are not. And then the things you wouldn't ever imagine, kangaroos being an issue at all. Just never had any issues. And that wasn't really an issue, but talking to a bloke yesterday and he had the same problem. It's a big red kangaroo just lying in the middle of the pathway, wouldn't move, wouldn't get up, and there was no way for him to get around it. We just do it. That's full water. That's full drenching. That's full, well past the ankles. Well, it's cold. Kind of them to put a little boardwalk here so that I don't get my feet wet. I mean, that's so considerate. There is Ramhead Shelter. I just passed someone who stayed there last night. Requested to record more things, including the toilets. So there is a toilet. Oh yeah, it doesn't look too bad. It's a drop toilet. You can see why people say this is one of the nicest that's on the track, so it is a bit of a shame I didn't stay there. Every single footprint on this beach is going southbound, and I'm going northbound. One of the interesting things I'm starting to see happen is, as you start off the trip, you run into people who are highly experienced because they're finishing off their 1,000-kilometre journey, and you're a complete newbie, so they've got lots to tell you, you've basically nothing to tell them. But as you get further into it, you've done more and more of the track, so the people that you pass are very interested to know what the conditions were behind you, and they become less experienced. I mean, obviously I still got a long way to go, but a couple I passed just before, they're just doing Walpole to Albany, so they're only, I think, day 3 of their journey, whereas I'm day 9, so I'm a lot more experienced from their perspective. I think I might have just left the last stretch of beach behind. I'm not sure if there's a little bit after Walpole or not, or if you're just kind of on the cliffs there, but you do definitely see the ocean one more time, but that's sort of the bulk of it done. It's pretty much inland for the rest of the trip now. Into the bush we go. There's a guy back at Peaceful Bay who said that it was overgrown around here, but I thought he was talking about a few kilometres ago, and I was thinking, what is he going on about? It was fine. This is what he was talking about. A little bit to get through. There's another guy who was at the caravan park whose job it was to clean it up. He's probably going to do that tomorrow, I imagine. It's 16 degrees out here at the moment. I can tell you it feels a lot hotter. Don't know how I'm going to go when it warms up in a few weeks. Real typical Australian scrub now, and I suspect most of the rest of the trip will be like this off and on. Just gotta get used to it. Must be where I came from. Now I've been told that I need to record more of the food that I eat out here, so I'll teach you how to make a tuna and avocado wrap. Assemble your ingredients: tuna, wrap, avocado that was left squashed in the bottom of my bag for 3 days and I don't know how it's going to be. Knife. Next step is to simply just chuck it all on a wrap. And the final step, which I'll leave as a lesson for the viewer, is to eat it. This little part of the track here is quite nice, and it reminds me a bit of a walk I used to do back in Mildura. I think it was called the Bibbulmun track, or at least that's what I called it in my head. And yeah, I guess I was getting into hiking even back then, because for my 11th birthday I got all my friends to walk that track with me. Road. It's a thick tree. So we're in the Tingle Forest now. Continuing Kyle's cooking adventures on this nice rainy morning, we get two choices. We get either oats, milk powder, sustagen, berries and nuts, or oats, milk powder, sustagen, berries and nuts. So take your pick. I pour most of that into my pot, you pour some water in, and you get something that looks kind of disgusting, but actually doesn't taste too bad. I was originally going to just do 15 k's today to Frankfurt River Cut, or whatever it's called, but it's potentially up to 60km/h winds tomorrow, and while I'm in a forest, it'll be sheltered. I feel like there's an increased chance of the forest coming down on me, so we'll see how we go. Might try to do the full walk into Walpole. Also, 6th consecutive night in a row in a shelter by myself. So I don't know what the chances are of that. Yesterday when I got here in the early afternoon, I was just sitting here reading a logbook, and a group of about 15 60-plus-year-old women came through on a guided day walk, and when they saw me, they were all fussing over me, trying to give me food to get me to eat more, and give me things for my blisters, and give me all this, motherly advice, because they all had sons my age and all this. It sort of felt a bit like a exhibit item, like the instructor was like, "Oh, if you stop here and look on your right, you will see a shelter and a Bibbulmun walker who is starving, cold and alone." Well, probably not going to get much footage today because I didn't plan things very well, and the phone is in a Ziploc bag that is quite thick. After a short walk, I arrived at the famous treetop walk, where I get to walk around and see all the tingle trees, which I totally wouldn't already be seeing for the next 5 hours. But it is quite cool and worth stopping in if you're in the area. No, the footage is terrible, I do apologise. You can never predict when you're going to see people, I really didn't think I was going to see anyone coming from the other direction given the weather, but yeah, just saw 4 guys about my age coming from Franklin River. Told them that there's 60km/h winds predicted tomorrow, and they're just like, "Oh, okay." And they're heading to conspicuous cliffs, which doesn't even have a shelter, so yeah. To make up for the footage, I'll be providing an audio description of this section. Imagine it's rainforest and it's raining. As with all things, walking in the rain really is different to anything else, like at first you're a bit like, "Oh, how's this going to go? What's going to happen?" Because nothing happens. And then you just get stuck into it, then it's just walking. Apologies again for the bad footage. It started raining again, but ran into the same group of 15 plus 60-year-old women. Very glad to see me. Gave me more chocolate. That's a big boy tree. Glad the rain has let up for me to be able to observe the grandeur of the giant tingle tree. The size of this tree is not really going to come across on video, but you know, it is a big tree. It's very, very big. Been reflecting a little bit on the journey so far. I think in general I haven't found it too physically demanding. I think all the training has paid off. I've been thinking about increasing the pace and doing longer days because I generally start at about 6:30 in the morning and finish around noon. Obviously that leaves a lot of more time in the day, but my main concern is if I turn these 30k days into 40-45k days, I don't think I can eat enough calories to maintain that. The only real sort of physical issue that I've had is blisters sort of cropping up, but they're fairly minor. But if I do long days, especially through wet sections, then it's not giving them a lot of time to heal and they might get worse. I think people often wonder why someone would want to do something like this and walk 1,000 kilometers, and I think everyone's got their own reasons, but for me, seeing other people do it, it just seemed like a really cool adventure and an awesome thing that you could do despite the modern world that we live in with all its like safety barriers and guided tours and all of this sort of process. You can just set out and walk between towns, and there's a lot already set up for you there, so it's not like a real true, you know, adventure off into nowhere unsupported. But you don't want to do that because your risks of death and injury go up substantially. But this is a safe way to get as close to that feeling, I think, at least for me. The other thing that's really cool about these kind of hikes is the way people greet you and the things that they automatically do for you because you're walking at end to end. It's like they treat you differently, like you know, people sort of look out for you and want to offer you things and give you food and give you coffee and give you advice and give you the phone number of someone that can pick you up if you get stuck, and accommodation options, and you know, they're very interested in what you're doing and where you're from. Just saw a thing's called a quokka. He snuck out from the left, but I imagine they're probably pretty timid. I eventually made it into Walpole, where I enjoyed a nice day off to recharge and get some more calories in. For sure, I'm glad that I decided to jump apart yesterday.